Today is Thursday, April 16th. Welcome to this edition of Nevada County Now. At the time of filming, there are no new cases of COVID-19 to report. We remain steady at 34 laboratory confirmed cases, 24 in eastern Nevada County, 10 in western Nevada County. For the most current information, visit mynevadacounty.com/coronavirus. With fire season just around the corner, the Fire Safe Council of Nevada County wants to remind you of its chipping program. They will chip brush that is cleared from defensible space of any permanent structure and or 30 feet away from any roadside or driveway used for evacuation purposes. They are not able to chip piles of leaves, pine needles or yard clippings, poison oak, decaying wood, all varieties of broom, commercial properties, timber harvest projects or vacant lots, blackberries, vines, or anything with thorns, or root balls, stumps, dirt, or twigs. Waste Management offers a green waste pickup program to dispose of such materials, and they can be contacted at 530-274-3090. The Fire Safe Council has several requirements to help their crew be as efficient as possible. They are as follows. Chipping piles need to be stacked along a road or driveway frontage, which will allow the crew to work from the road or driveway. Piles must be placed within 5 feet of chipper access, and they must be placed on level ground or on the uphill side of the road or driveway. Again, they cannot contain roots, stumps, rocks and mud, poison oak, Scotch broom, and blackberries and other vines. Piles must be stacked with the cut ends facing the same direction, pointing towards access routes to the pile, and must not be higher than 4 feet. Materials can be up to 8 inches in diameter and need to be at least 3 feet in length, the longer the better for the crew as it's easier to feed through the chipper. Be aware that the materials chipped will be blown back onto the property or put in a pile where the brush was stacked. To ensure they can provide service to all applicants in a reasonable amount of time, the chipping service is limited to 4 hours per customer per application. During high volume periods in the spring and summer, wait times can reach 5 to 6 weeks. To download an application, visit rufiresafe.com. Emily's Catering will be extending their free lunch Friday through the end of May. Distribution starts at noon and goes until the lunches are gone. Nobody's turned away. They said, we also realize that kids may be getting tired of the same old PB&J, so this week we're switching it up and we'll be offering burritos. Our burritos are made with organic pinto beans cooked from scratch, cilantro lime rice, and Sierra Nevada organic white cheddar. Also available with grilled Mary's chicken breast. Lunches will still include whole fruit, baby carrots, a drink, and frozen yogurt donated by Culture Shock Yogurt. Their address is 421 Colfax Avenue in Grass Valley. Last week I spoke to Dan Kennerson of South Fork Vodka, who has been making and donating hand sanitizer to our community, including Sierra Nevada Memorial Hospital, Kaiser Hospital, first responders, firefighters, police officers, paramedics, nursing homes, grocery store workers, mail carriers, and daycares. Dan said at the time that the plan was to get the hand sanitizer to grocery store shelves to be available to the general public. Well, they have now done that. You can get yours at SPD, Hills Flat Lumber, the Station House, and Radius Plus Sports Rehab, and soon at Briar Patch. It's available in 750 milliliter and 1.75 liter sizes. For bulk orders, contact Katrina at satellitespirits.com. Earlier this week, I was able to catch up with Chief Alex Gammelgard of the Grass Valley Police Department to discuss how this pandemic has affected the police force and policing in general.
Sure, yeah. My name is Alex Gammelgard. I'm the police chief for the city of Grass Valley, and we serve the municipal jurisdiction of the city of Grass Valley. So anybody with a 3 or 4 digit address, generally, sometimes even a 1 or 2 digit address, means that you're inside the city of Grass Valley if you have a Grass Valley address.
And so I'm sure this whole situation has changed quite a few things for you. Would you be willing to let us know a bit about how you've been coping with all of that?
Sure. When this all sort of started in early March, late February, some of us were watching the trends, basically worldwide, and then ultimately here in California, when I think it really changed for law enforcement based on 2 things. One, was as we saw positive tests in different communities throughout the state, and as we ramped up our preparedness levels just to keep our own staff healthy and ensure that we could, maintain a continuity of service, that was one side of it. And then also when the governor issued his stay-at-home order, I think that was a big change for us too, because this particular issue, as we know, is really a public health-driven emergency. It's from an operational standpoint, it's being driven by public health professionals. So law enforcement was really on the sidelines in a lot of ways. And generally in emergencies, we tend to be more upfront and involved, but we were kind of on the sidelines watching things evolve and supporting our partners where we could. But then when that health order came out, it definitely provided more work, I would say, for law enforcement, just from an educational standpoint and the occasional enforcement standpoint, and just making sure that our communities are staying, adhering to the best practices to keep our communities safe.
And have you had to make specific changes to attempt to keep your personnel safe?
Yeah, we created a 3-tiered staffing model and preparedness and prevention model. So kind of tier 1 being pretty much what we already do, but just being overly cautious on sanitizing surfaces, hand washing, things like that, not eating in the same spaces. And then our second level was similar to that with even more adherence to kind of social distancing within our own work areas. So within a police department, you have your patrol division, you have your investigations division, and sort of the administration side. And so here we really kind of started to separate those out and say, if you're patrol, try and stay in the patrol side, and likewise for the other divisions. And then now where we're at, which is kind of the 3rd tier, that was predicated upon seeing community spread of the virus within our own community. And now we have implemented our 3rd tier, which our patrol officers are doing. They're doing remote briefings rather than traditionally sitting around one briefing table in the mornings, for example. They're briefing from their cars via this type of application. We are also doing more telephone interaction with our callers in the community where we can. But by all means, we're still responding to calls. So our policy says that if it requires physical intervention or arrival on scene by an officer, so whether that's for maybe a disturbance call where we need to arrive to help quell a situation, or from an investigative standpoint where we really need to be on scene, those kind of things have changed for us, or have not changed for us.
Gotcha. Okay. And still the same number of officers out and about?
Yeah, we've changed up that a little bit. Some of our detective units are those guys and gals are working from home, and there's a 2-tiered strategy to that. One being keeping them away from kind of a congregate setting around a police department. But secondly, kind of a backup bench should we see some sickness within our patrol ranks that are out there every single day, so that we can call on those individuals to help staff a street patrol position.
And I know there's been a lot of talk in the community about how you're going about enforcing some of these public health orders, or whether you are at all. People seem to be on extremes of either side. How are you going about managing that, and where are we at with that right now?
So we've really taken a role of education over enforcement at the Grass Valley Police Department. And as you know, one of the first things that changed in our society was schools being told to stay home. And we have a school resource officer who traditionally spent his workday at the school. So immediately upon not having students at the school, I tasked him with becoming sort of our business liaison. And initially he started by just driving around town and seeing what businesses are open, which ones are clearly open and allowed under the stay-at-home order that was issued by the governor, which ones are closed, and then which ones are either open for discussion or up for debate as to their essential service. And we found that there's a number of them that are open that at first blush you might think, I wonder why that business is open, but you can quickly learn what it is, whether it's a restaurant or a hardware store, things like that that were listed in the order. And then he's also provided letters to businesses. And then, of course, we're looking for social gatherings that are occurring on streets and things like that, just to make sure we're educating people that it's not the best thing. And most recently, we've kept open our Wolf Creek Trail here at the City of Grass Valley, which was opened last year. It's a great spot for people to get out and exercise, and that's encouraged under the order. But we also have just recently posted some signage that is saying, basically help us keep our trail open, adhere to some of these best practices. And we talk about not walking in groups, making sure you're giving people space on the trail, just doing things that would indicate that you're thinking about the health order before you go out and frequent a place like that.
Gotcha. Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
That's the hope. We're really trying to take more of a common sense approach. And in the police academies, one of the first things officers are taught is letter of the law versus spirit of the law. So intent of the law versus just reading it specifically. We're really trying to focus on the intent here, which is to ultimately reduce the number of interpersonal contacts where that transmission can occur.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, the other sort of hot button topic I think that a lot of people are talking about and want to know a bit more about is sort of the prisoner releases and or lack thereof, whether that's happening or not, and whether you're doing as many as arrests or things like that. Would you care to talk about that at all?
Sure, I can elaborate on that a little bit. We at the police department, our interaction with in custody situations is mostly with, the physical arrest of an individual for the commission of a crime, and then we would book them here locally. They would be booked into the Nevada County Jail, which is operated by the Nevada County Sheriff's Office. But I can speak a little bit to the fact that just last week there was a new order issued by the California Judicial Council, and they ordered all the local courts, which would include the Nevada County Superior Court, to amend their prescribed bail schedule that would reduce the bail on certain crimes that previously had a cash bail amount assigned to them to zero, but left in place a number of enumerated crimes and reference to crime sections that would retain their underlying bail. So, for example, a certain type of felony might have a $25,000 bail normally assigned to it. And if that particular crime was not listed within the enumerated crimes that would retain its bail, it would then be set to zero, which would mean that absent any other outside influence, that a person pending trial for that type of crime, so a pretrial defendant who is in custody, could be released on $0 bail. But there's a number of things to know. They don't just walk out the door. They would have likely terms and conditions of their release that they'd have to abide by that can result in their rearrest if they violated. But there's also the ability, and recently our district attorney's office has argued in court on these certain cases that would qualify to keep people in custody and or keep a cash bail dollar amount assigned to their case if there is a significant risk of reoffending, public safety, those kind of things. So even though certain crimes may have a $0 bail assigned to them, our police officers are instructed and are able to actually call a local magistrate, the on-call judge if it's after hours, and argue their case for a higher bail.
Okay.
But of course, we just need to meet the intent to say, the Judicial Council says these number of crimes are generally zero, but if we can show that it's likely to continue, that it's a significant public safety risk, that it's a public nuisance, and we can really articulate those, then there is the ability for that bail to actually be placed higher than zero. And that's what we've seen in a number of cases where people on paper generally qualify. We've seen a number of people held in custody because of the significant public safety risks that would have resulted around their release.
So then is there anything that the community can do to help make your guys' jobs a bit easier?
We've seen tremendous community support of law enforcement, and we've seen a real tremendous effort by the majority of our community to adhere to the stay-at-home order. I think that's what I would say that folks can do for us. I mean, they can continue doing what they're doing. I know it's difficult. I know there's a number of businesses that are just in dire straits, and we feel for them. Our police officers are on the street trying to protect those businesses day and night. And I just throw in a little side note here that if there's a business that is closed currently, that they can go onto our webpage at www.gbpd.net and fill out a extra patrol request and let us know the circumstance of your business, how we can get a hold of you. And that way when our officers are doing their proactive patrols, whether it's on foot or in their car, and kind of checking door handles in the middle of the night, that if they see anything amiss, they can call the appropriate person. But from our perspective, we're busy doing that kind of work. We're busy looking for prowlers and looters and dealing with the high priority crimes that we're going to require that physical interaction. So we would ask that people would adhere to the order, and that will help reduce our general workload so we can focus on those mission critical tasks.
Absolutely. Okay. And do you guys currently have all the PPE equipment you need, the masks and hand sanitizer and gloves and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, we do. Early on, we were able to source and get some of that. You know, we have enough for today and for the next week, depending on what happens. We could be at risk of not having enough, but right now we feel comfortable where we sit with that. And, you know, I think one thing that we've all seen here on the west side of Nevada County that is tremendous is the businesses stepping forward and helping us out. We've had businesses provide different PPE equipment to us, and just a big shout out to South Fork Distillery, who has provided us with hand sanitizer. And you know, when you're doing the kind of work where you're in and out of your car every single day, multiple times, and interacting with people, our officers are using a lot of hand sanitizer, which is good. But I want to thank that business and others who have stepped forward and helped source the PPE that we need to do our jobs.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add, or anything important that I haven't asked you about?
No, you hit most of the topics. That's kind of what's going on right now. If and when we start seeing sort of that change back to some normality, we would just ask that people would be conscious about how they're interacting with their fellow neighbors, and just be cordial and friendly. And I think that we are going to be seeing, from what I'm hearing, certain amount of financial revenues coming into people's accounts from the federal stimulus. And, you know, my ask would be that people would obviously handle their needs, and that's what that money is for. But if by chance you're in a position where you can help give back, that you would really contemplate carefully where you spend that money, and that you look at spending it locally to support our businesses that are hurting after you've obviously dealt with the most important, crucial needs of just day-to-day living.
Gotcha. Okay, great. Well, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to talk with me, and thank you and your whole team for doing all that you do to keep everybody safe.
Yeah, no problem. And thank you for reaching out to us. If there's anything we can do to support getting the word out like you're doing, we'd love to be part of it. So thank you for inviting me today.
Thanks again, Chief Gammelgard. In follow-up to Chief Gammelgard's comments in regards to how criminal releases are handled, here's an incident that happened this week. Grass Valley Police say they found 2 men early Wednesday inside the Tractor Supply store, arresting one of them on the scene and the second hours later. The 2 men remained jailed Wednesday. The charge of committing a burglary during a state of emergency is exempt from the zero bail schedule, and the judge increased both their bonds to $200,000. Tonight we'll leave you with a preview for a show recently started by our executive director, Ramona Howard. She is a master gardener, and she's teamed up with her friend and fellow master gardener, Lynn Muth, to create a show to share their gardening knowledge and experience. It will contain information for all levels of gardeners and is available on our Facebook, YouTube, and cable channels. Remember, stay safe, take care of each other. We'll see you tomorrow.
Hi there, I am Lynn Muth. I am an avid, sometimes called rabid gardener. I've been gardening all my life, and I'm passionate about helping other people become avid or rabid gardeners. If you have a black thumb, we'll help you turn that at least into a brown one.
Hi, I'm Ramona Howard, and like Lynn, I'm also an avid gardener, but unlike Lynn, I totally suck at it. So even though I'm a master gardener, I consider myself a newbie. Lynn and I decided to finally get together and create a show for people who are just getting started. For those that don't know me in the community, they probably know our garden. Our garden is the Big Blue Victorian on Mill Street that several years back we turned the whole front yard into a garden, and past a year or so we built the white greenhouse out there. So that's my daughters and myself. So we want to welcome you to Homegrown, where we hope to help educate our community on how to take their lawns and turn them into grocery stores. So let's get started.